What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Peach, and today I'm going to be sharing one of my testimonies with you today. And this one is one that I hold very dear to my heart because it involved me losing a family member. And this family member was my mom. So let's start from the beginning because there is a beginning. I was 16 years old when I found out that my mom was diagnosed with cancer. I'm not going to go into the details of everything, but we all know what cancer is. And, I was just so sure that my mom was going to be healed. I had so much faith. I'm like, yeah, I know you have cancer and everything like that, but you're going to be good. Like, I have faith. I know that we're going to be testifying when you get out of this and everything's going to be okay. The first year that she had cancer, to my understanding, she opted out of every treatment because she had that same level of faith that everything would just go away. And I believe in the beginning, everything was going well. And the area where she had the cancer in her body wasn't growing or anything like that. It was stable. They were talking about surgeries to remove it and all this good stuff. So we were just hopeful for that first year. Whatever happened in the second year with the cancer, just things started to spread. So it went from one area of her body to another area of her body to another area of her body. Mind you, just giving you my perspective now. At this point, I'm 17. I'm in my senior year of high school. I'm doing everything I can to pass to make my mom proud because at this point, she has cancer. It was tough. During my senior year, I missed 32 days of school, if I remember correctly. I was very much kind of like on a probationary measure for missing school. And actually, me missing school had nothing to do with my mom. I was just going through some emotional trauma, dealing with some things of my own that were really personal. And I was one of those kids who was really scared to talk to my mom about what I was going through. So my mom didn't find out about some of the abuse and trauma that I went through until a month before she passed away, because I finally ended up telling her once I graduated high school and everything like that. But I have been dealing with peer pressure, being bullied in school, and all types of different stuff on top of dealing with my mom having cancer. So I'm this type of person. Whenever something is going on around me that would be otherwise traumatic or too much for me to handle, I'm the type of individual that when stuff that's bad is going on around me that's out of my control, I'm going to bury myself in whatever I can so I don't either have to be around that situation or so I don't have to think about it. So at my age, at 17, I had just graduated high school. I had just started college. So college took up a lot of my time because I want to say I was taking the summer courses. So I was taking at least 2 or 3 courses a day. And then as soon as I left school, I was going to my job because I had a job at the time. Didn't get out of work until about 6:30. I would go home and then again immerse myself in my homework or whatever I had to do so that I could turn in my work or whatever the next day. During this period, y'all, my mom was on an oxygen tank. So I was mortified. Every day when I came home, I was able to make it to my room before I could make it to where she was because she spent most of her time in the living room. I would purposely go in, shoot through the door, go right to my room, because seeing her after a long day on her oxygen mask, seeing her after a long day wearing an oxygen mask was really difficult for me as a teenager. And it's just crazy because a lot of family had a lot of stuff to say, like, oh, you weren't around your mom, and etc. Like, you don't understand why I wasn't around my mom. I was 17. I just graduated high school, and I was scared because my mom was the only parent that I lived with for the majority of my life. So it was just me and my mom. My brothers were older. They had already moved out. They were living their life. It was just literally me and her. So I was just so scared every time I saw her. And I didn't want to see her, to be honest. It was very hard for me to view her that way. I had like heard a lot of nasty remarks after my mom died too, from family, like, oh, you was never there for your mom and you weren't around. But nobody ever cared to ask me why that was. It was because it was difficult. And what they don't know is I had a conversation with my mom, because she herself was very offended. Like, you know, why don't you want to come around me? Why don't you want to spend time and stuff like that? And I just had to explain, like, because I cannot deal with seeing you this way. It's difficult for me. So again, like I said, I submersed myself in everything I could. I went to every church service, boy. Prayer meeting, youth meeting. So basically I did everything I could to just be away from home. And my reasoning was because I did not like seeing my mom in the condition she was. Imagine you live 16 years of your life seeing your mom up in ministry, traveling. And my mom was a traveler. She went everywhere. Even 2 weeks before she passed away, she drove to Georgia with her oxygen tank. Lord, don't ask me why she did that. But my mom loved to travel. She loved to travel. So when I started seeing a decline in all these activities, along with her using the oxygen mask, I was just like, this is not good. Like, this is really not good. I don't know what level of faith that I had at that time, because when she first told me she had cancer, I was like, oh, God gonna fix this. You know, we gonna be all right. Like, I was just so sure that she was gonna be okay. Now I was kind of on the fence. I'm like, I don't know. But it didn't end there. I want to say, see, I'm not really giving y'all time frames, but long story short, things got really bad. I remember my mom asking me to take her to the emergency room because she wasn't feeling well. This would be about 2 weeks before she passed. Now, when she went there, I heard the doctor telling them, like, yo, there's nothing else that we can do right now. I literally heard him telling her that. Didn't know what the time frame was for her to pass away, but I would say about 2 weeks later, I'll never forget, I was out at a church event. I don't know if it was I want to say Memorial Day, because if it was in May, because she passed away in May, it might have been a Memorial Day event. I remember the church I was at. I remember who I was talking to, what I was doing. And I got a phone call from my mom, and she was just like, I need you to bring me back to the emergency room. Okay. I leave where I'm at, go to my mom, and she is practically just gasping for air. I'm confused, because why are you gasping for air and you're on an oxygen machine? But it was just very clear to me that it just wasn't working out. Bring her to the hospital. We get there. Her heart rate is through the roof. It's like 135. And doctors are running around panicking, doing all this stuff. And I brought her there around 4 o'clock. Around 9, she's like, go ahead and go home. And I'm like, no, I'm not leaving you here like this. And she beckoned with me. She was like, Rachel, please just go home. But my mom was pretty serious. She was like, Rachel, just go home. You got work tomorrow. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Brought my mom to the hospital on Monday now, because this had to be Memorial Day. Tuesday, I left work because I could not stop thinking about my mom. Got there, and my mom was extremely upset with me. She was like, why would you leave work to come here? And I just couldn't understand, because I'm like, what do you mean? You're my mom and I'm concerned. Like, the condition I brought you in here wasn't great. At this point, she's already in ICU. And I'm just like, how you go from a regular emergency bed, now you're in ICU? Like, it's getting progressive. I don't know if I was just naive or just wasn't dawning on me like this was her last moment. But unfortunately, I wasn't there. I thought she was going to come out of the hospital this time like she did the 2 weeks before. I really thought like she was going to be all right. Anyways, the Wednesday, I don't go because I'm like, she's going to get mad at me again. Anyways, my brother calls me. They're like, oh, mom's oxygen has declined. She's not eating. And she's going to hospice tomorrow. Still, in my head, I'm like, nah, she ain't about to die. Like, you know, she'll probably be in hospice for a while because things are bad. And unfortunately, y'all, I was just in denial. I did not believe that my mother could pass away. There was just like, maybe some would even call me delusional. I was like, yeah, she's good. She's going to be fine. She's going to pull through. It's just a really bad time with the cancer right now. Yada, yada, yada. Thursday comes, y'all. Thursday comes, and her friend calls me at this point because she's at the hospital. My mom, her friend is like, Rachel, you need to get here immediately. This is around 12 o'clock that Thursday. I go, and my mom is on a tranquilizer. So at this point, I maybe was like morphine or something like that. I'm not really sure. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a medical professional and tell you, but she was so drowsy and weak, it looked like she was on some really, really heavy drugs. She was highly sedated. So, like, she could barely open her eyes. Her head was kind of bobbing when I came in. And I immediately started crying. So, her friend was like, Rachel, I need you to calm down. Like, they're transferring your mom to hospice tonight. Everything gonna be okay. Anyways, I'm crying. My mom takes out a piece of paper. She's waving her hand for a pen, and she manages to write the words "be strong." When she wrote "be strong," it looked like a 2-year-old wrote it, but I knew what she meant, and I lost it. Like, when she wrote that, I completely lost my mind. And her friend was like, Rachel, I'm sorry, but you gotta go right now. Like, your mom's going through it, and you sitting in here hollering, you gotta go. And I left. I cried for the entire day. I kept calling her friend, hey, my mom okay? What's going on? And she calls me around like 5 in the evening. She's like, I don't even think your mom's gonna make it to hospice, because she was scheduled to go to hospice at 11 o'clock that night. She was like, I honestly don't think your mom's gonna make it to hospice. I'm like, so you trying to tell me my mom's gonna die before 11? Again, I am completely delusional, because why does nobody have faith? Why nobody don't think she gonna make it? Like, I don't get it. Guys, at this point, I was so young. I don't know where my mind was. I don't know what it was on, but I just didn't understand. Anyways, around, I want to say 6 that evening, I started gathering up all my friends. I'm like, yo, I need y'all support. I'm going to the hospital. I'm gonna go see my mom. Her friend saying she don't think she gonna make it to hospice. I called my brother, one of my brothers who lived about 3 hours away from where we are. I called him screaming and crying like, yo, drop everything you doing. I need you to get here now. So my brother's like, yo, Rachel, calm down, chill out. And I'm like, no, it's serious. Drop what you're doing, leave work, whatever you got going on, you need to leave now. Get here now. So long story short, everyone gets to the hospital around 8 o'clock. My mom's room looked like, I don't even know what to say, because people were in and out, 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 in and out. They had to take turns, and we had to wear like protective clothing because she had MRSA, which is methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus, I believe. I couldn't stop thinking about that, because it's not the cancer that she died from. She died from the infection called MRSA, which is crazy. Anyways, that's not important. So around 8:15, the nurse was like, I need everyone who's the immediate family to get in the room now. Walk in the room, holding my mom's hand. Both of my brothers are in there. All of my friends are in there, and like a few other people. And I literally was watching my mom take her last breath. I'm watching the machine. I hear it beep. I hear the nurses declare the time of death. And I'm just standing there. My brother punched the wall. The other brother who lived far away, he was losing it. And I was just delusional. I was completely delusional. I don't know if it's because I had spent the entire day crying, but I just didn't have anything in that moment. I could even remember getting in the elevator to go downstairs to get in her car, and there were people coming up in the elevator like, oh, we're here to see your mom. I was like, oh, she just passed. Like, super nonchalant, like it was nothing. They're like, oh, what? And you're okay? I'm like, yeah, she just passed, you know, everything's good. You can go up and look at her body if you want to, but yeah, she's up there. And I promise you, for I'd say even 30 minutes after, there were people walking in looking at my mother's dead body. I promise you. Like, there were people coming up, visiting my mom, and looking at her dead body. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to the testimony part because this is a little emotional. I didn't process my mother's death till about 5 years later. So that's a whole nother story. I had a lot going on mentally, a lot of trauma, a lot of suppression, a lot of I have to be strong now. Y'all, 3 months after my mom passed away, I ended up pregnant with my daughter. So it was just, life was just lifing. Okay, like life was just lifing. I didn't really have a chance to stop and grieve the way I wanted to because I already was forced to become an adult. I was 18, then I was pregnant. I had to think about a whole nother person. It was a fiasco. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move right along. So when my mom passed away, because she passed away so suddenly, there were no plans for who I would live with, or there was no will. None of that. So I was kind of just bouncing from place to place to place with nowhere to really say this is my home. Okay, I'm not even gonna go into that story because that's another testimony of its own. But I just want to say, y'all, years later, 10 plus years later, I am no longer homeless. My kids are doing amazing because I have 2. The Lord blessed me with a home about 7 years ago. And I ain't going to go into the other blessings he gave me because this is not a brag thing. I do like to keep my business as private as possible. But I just wanted to encourage somebody today who lost someone. It feels so bad. It's like a never-ending nightmare. It's like you keep waking up. You're like, oh, this is still real. No, how could this be? Like, what's going on? But God carried me through. He carried me. He carried me. He carried me. So I'm just going to give some more context to that. He carried me through. When my mom passed away, I faced a lot of criticism from different family members. This is not one of those YouTube videos to call out family members and be like, I don't like you because you did this. And I'm beyond that. I forgive them. I love everybody in my family. We all make mistakes. We all say things that's not appropriate because everybody has different emotions. But there was a lot that was said to me that I think hurt me really bad. And then having to deal with the criticism of being pretty much, 19 and pregnant. Because I turned 19 2 months after she passed away. So yeah, being 19 and pregnant, there was criticism behind that. And honestly, something that maybe a lot of other people who are surviving loved ones can say is everyone's there for the funeral. I'm telling you. But maybe a week after, you don't hear nothing because guess what? The truth is people have to go back to their regularly scheduled life. They're not the ones going through the same pain that you are. So they just go back to their life. But for me, it was trying to balance grief, trying to balance pregnancy as a young mom, you know, trying to balance criticism, trying to stay afloat, trying to keep a job. You know, there was all these things. Y'all, when I tell you God is so good to me, like he's been so good to me. By the time I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant when I ended up in my own place on my own. So I started living on my own and I knew nothing about motherhood, nothing about pregnancy, but God placed people in my life to help me every step of the way. Y'all, it was to the point where when I was in labor, I could specifically remember calling family members and being told certain remarks. And I'm not even going to go into it right now. But I got on the road, got to the hospital. The nurse was yelling at me. She was like, "You're 4 centimeters. Who drove you here? How did you get here?" I was like, "I drove myself." And she was like, "Don't you ever do that again. You should have called the ambulance." But this is just to show you that I was alone. After my mother passed away, I was alone. Yes, I had my brothers. Yes, I had other support, but I'm talking about physically alone. I dealt with my everyday life alone. I didn't have any help. I didn't have anyone around me, but God was with me every step of the way. I'm telling you, the people that came in my life, the people I met through my job, the people that I met through my social worker, the people that I met at the hospitals, the people that I met outside of work, I believe they were divinely placed in my life because of God. So I just want to encourage somebody out there, if you lost a loved one and you feel like you're alone and you feel like it hurts and you feel like it's hard and you feel like you'll never get through it, I am encouraging you to put your full and ultimate trust in God, because if He could do it for me, He can do it for you. And listen, God helped me to hold. I did not fold. I didn't have any suicidal moments during that time. I'm alive. I'm well. My kids are okay. I have a future. God has a plan for my life. He has a plan for your life too. But that is my testimony. My testimony is that I'm here today. I'm okay. I made it through what I feel like is the worst thing I could ever endure. I'm here. I'm okay. That is the testimony.